Midweek Rumble time. Rumble. Now, Sid Rahn, President of the Ontario Federation of Labour, one of Canada's most recognised Labour leaders, and David Menzies isn't. He's a right-wing conservative, a radio personality. I thought it said communist. And a columnist. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, Michael.
Now, there's an election in Ontario where three of the most dynamic leaders in the history of Canadian politics are running to be elected. David, who's going to win?
I'm predicting a Liberal majority, which speaks volumes of the total incompetence of Tim Hudak and his PCs. This was their election to win. They could have won it, but they're making the Boston Red Sox look like clutch hitters right now, the way they've collapsed. I'm not going to go with Howarth, of course. I had the NDP Orange Crush in 1990. It kind of tasted like the Kool-Aid Reverend Jim Jones was serving.
21 years ago.
Yeah, well,
people are dead now. There are a lot of voters who have no memory of Bob Ray and what happened.
Yeah, but
she's a very personable woman.
That's what we're voting for? It's miscongeniality?
Sometimes,
is that what the election
sometimes
is?
it is about that. She's not offensive. She's likable.
Well, Michael, I'm in a position, the first time in my life, what I'm doing tomorrow, I'm going to the polling booth and I'm declining my ballot. None of those three are worth voting for. And I'm going to return it to the returning officer. And could you imagine if 2 million Ontarians did that, declined their ballots, said, none of you are worth our time.
Poor returning officer, just doing the job, and you're going to go and say, I will not vote.
Yeah, you know what? They get lazy, I heard. They go, can you just spoil it instead? No, I want it registered.
Who is in your riding? Who are the people running?
It's Helena Jezek is the, I have difficulty pronouncing her name.
Are you making these up?
No. And Fareed...
Otto von Bismarck.
Fareed Wasif is the...
Yeah, you're finger on the pulse saying, what is your riding? What's the name of it?
It's Oak Ridge's Markham.
OK, all right. So you think the Liberals will win with the majority and you don't care about that? You don't care that from that point onwards our children will be taught compulsory masturbation from the age of 4? You don't care about that?
All I care is that Bernie Farber loses to Peter Sherman in that riding.
Wow, in Thornhill.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you know, I ought to go home right now because when the Conservative and my opponent on this panel, he slams Hudak, my job is done. I agree wholeheartedly.
You want the Liberals in power?
No, yeah. The reality is, though, I think it'll either be a minority NDP Liberal government, with the Liberals having the most seats, or else it'll be a squeaker in terms of the Liberals holding on to form a majority government with a much reduced majority.
Wouldn't you want, though, as a New Democrat, you've run for the party several times, wouldn't you want a Liberal minority government with the NDP having a third of the cabinet and a lot of influence?
Oh no, I would, no question about it. I mean, that's what we're pushing for. Is we want to see actually Andrea win. But the reality is, I've been around the province. I've been into Northern Ontario for the last couple of days. Sudbury, we're going to win seats there. We're going to win seats in Thunder Bay. We win seats in Hamilton. So we will at least double our numbers for sure.
Oh. What do you have now?
Got 10, and they're.
So you'd have at least 20?
At least 20. I mean, if she wins 23, 24, it's a minority government. Yeah. It seems that Hudak got shut out in the 416, or will be shut out in the 416.
Seems that way.
Which, by the way, which puts to the test that whole notion about the Ford Nation. Where is the Ford Nation? There is no such thing as a Ford Nation. It's a mirage.
That's an interesting point, though. Go ahead.
Can I weigh in?
Yeah.
This is the tragedy of the Tim Hudak campaign, Michael. There is a conservative wave out there, the wave that brought Rob Ford to the mayor's office in Toronto, the wave that got Stephen Harper a majority government. And what he could have done is he could have run a simple campaign, stay on message. He could have said this: respect for taxpayers, vote us in, no HST. Instead, he's talking about ankle bracelets and, chain gangs and,
I mean, I agree with part of that, but, it's impossible for Hudak to run on an anti-HST when it was brought in by the Conservatives. So how does he go against his federal cousins and say, I completely abhor HST? Well, I mean, he stole that platform partly off of, the fact that take it off of gas, take it off of hydro. He stole that off the NDP. Yeah. So you're right in some respects. He didn't have a pure Conservative agenda, except the red meat that he was tossing out about ankle bracelets and foreign workers and all that stuff.
But let me ask you about this because, look, these. Actually, I have to admit, I don't like Dawn McGuinty. I've interviewed him many, many times. I think he changes his tune frequently. I don't think he's an honest man. I think that Tim Hudak's a very decent guy, and Andrew Horwath, I think he's a very nice person. However, Tim Hudak, every time they say, where are you going to cut back? He says, 20% smaller cabinet. It's laughable. That's pennies. No one cares about that. And then he threw out the sex registry, making the sex registry public. Now, I understand that sex offenders are not good people. Some of them haven't been convicted of anything, by the way. But you do realise if it's completely public where they live, they're more likely to offend. They're going to be pushed into a ghetto. The police know where they are. That was such an irresponsible populist comment to make.
Oh, no. Actually, no. I disagree with you there, Michael. I agree with these, getting tough on crime initiatives.
I agree with that.
But the point is, the economy is job one. People in this province are taxed to death. There are more than 500,000 Ontarians out of a job. This is the bread and butter issue. His opponents are casting aspirations on Tim Hudak, painting him as Mike Harris light. And I say, if only he's Dalton McGuinty.
So you think if he would have been more right-wing, he could have won this election?
Absolutely.
I mean, he may
but he did drive.
Absolutely.
If there's one message he did drive home, though, David, and that was the cutting taxes. I mean, he did. I mean, that's the one area that he did stick to his platform on, and it didn't resonate. Like, people are just not buying that message anymore about taxes. They understand there's a relationship between good social programs and a livable city, for example, or a livable community. Well, they do. You may say, here we go, all you like, but that's the fact of the matter is he did trumpet that every day of the week. That was his main mantra, and it's not resonating.
Sid,
people are not buying into it.
Sid, everyone understands where you're coming from, that it's good to have a lot of taxes for public sector union members to dip into to get their increases year over year.
You don't have to shout to get your point across.
Well, I do when you interrupt me.
No, you don't. The point is, though, he nailed the tax mantra, and over 60% of the population, 65%, are rejecting it. They're not buying your message. They're not buying your message about tax cuts.
Is it the message they're not buying, or is it the messenger? Because Tim Hudak, who again I think is a decent fellow, he's not a strong personality. And he keeps on referring to his daughter every second sentence. His daughter. He can't come forward and say, I mean, Mike Harris wasn't charismatic, but there was a firmness about him. This is what you're getting. End of story. Not saying anymore. Even Rob Ford, again, I mean, we're not saying that he's the most brilliant man you've ever met, but this is it. End of conversation. Hudak goes on and just digs the hole deeper.
Well, I will say this much. I found it to be despicable, actually, that he was using his daughter so much.
I agree.
I really don't like that business of politicians trotting out their daughters and their family members in terms of trying to garner votes. I mean, once or twice was maybe, okay, at the beginning of the campaign, but every stop he was talking about his daughter, everything got related back to his daughter, to the point where people just completely turned off, saying, you're using this child.
You're quite right. I mean, every context, who won? My daughter thinks I won. This educational issue, my daughter thinks. But someone's telling him to do that. These people who are paid a lot of money behind the scenes to advise. Dalton McGuinty, during the debate, said that his mother was having a hard time of it financially. I think I mentioned this before. He's the Premier. His father was an MP with a good pension. His brother is an MP. They're not giving mum anything? If that's the case, then the McGuintys are a pretty awful bunch of kids, aren't they?
I agree. And by the way, it must be a full moon because I'm agreeing with Sid here.
All right, we're going to stop it there, because that's going to get too boring.
That's twice.
Back in a few moments, we're going to occupy Wall Street. Don't you dare go away.